Hey everybody, it's your girl, Karrie, your astrological empowerment counselor. I hope you can hear me. They're doing some sort of landscaping outside. Um, but I had a quick minute before I go into a meditation session and then also before I head out for the rest of the day. I wanted to do a quick video for you. I just felt called to do it, and that seems to be how I'm being led these days. So I'm just putting out the content that I'm being asked to put out. Okay. This video is called How to Make Money Following Your Soul Calling Using Your Astrological North Node. Um, why did this come to me? One is because that's exactly what I did. I made a huge pivot in what I had gone to undergrad to study in the business that I had created. I made a huge pivot and turned my business into my soul calling, and I found that through my astrological North Node, and you can too. So, before we get started on that, I am an astrological empowerment coach. I work with mindset and your astrology chart. I say that I turn predictions into creation, meaning what instead of just taking a look at what your chart says you're going to do, we go down that road, but then we also create what you actually want to do as well. If you want to book a reading with me to take a look at your chart, or you want to book a coaching session with me, you can find all those details in the description box below. If you are new here, welcome, and I hope you will stay with me. I hope you will subscribe to this channel. I hope you will like it and share it. There's a lot of great content here that I hope will help you take care of yourself using your astrological birth chart. So let's see. If you look at your astrological birth chart, there is a placement called the North Node. The North Node represents what gives you meaning, and in very layman's terms, it means your soul calling. Okay. The North Node is in a sign and it is in a house, right? And so what that means is the sign tells you the energy of what you're embodying. Like, say, if your North Node is in the sign of Cancer, that's a very emotional and nurturing and mothering and fathering, and it's a very helpful and emotionally nurturing sign. So you already know, okay, I am meant to work, or my soul calling is something that is going to be perhaps in the healing fields, a nursing field. Maybe I'm a daycare attendant. Maybe I do something that may helps people in some way, right? So it's a broad range, of course, but that's the energy of what would give you that would make your soul feel fulfilled. And let's say that that North Node in Cancer is in, say, the third house. The third house is a house of speaking, intelligence, communication, how we think, and also how we receive information. It's a kind of a Gemini house. And so you know that if your North Node is in Cancer, you're going to be speaking in a very nurturing way, or maybe you are a writer who writes in a nurturing way, or a journalist. Maybe you are a speaker who speaks about baby products, or maybe you are a mommy blogger. There's many different ways that third house can be interpreted. But just for the sake, obviously, I'm not looking at all the aspects in your chart, but just in general, that's how we look to see. The soul calling is the thing that gives us the most meaning. It is literally the thing that says, I am complete now. This is what I do, you know? And so look on your astrological birth chart to find out where that North Node is natally, in the sign, and also in the house. But the other part of this is that the North Node is not a planet per se, it's an axis. And so the North Node very much has to do with the soul, it has to do with timing, it has to do with all that woo woo stuff. I always kind of tell people that I love astrology because it's a very scientific based, mathematics and deacons and things like that based, um, method of esoteric method. Okay. But the North Node is actually one of the most, I would say, spiritual parts of the astrology chart because it represents soul fulfillment. and even past lives and energy you're bringing from a past life. So it's not just looking at your North Node, it's also looking at the timing in your life. Your North Node is usually activated, and you go towards it at a time in your life where you are experiencing a complete breakdown. And that's usually because the North Node represents something we haven't done yet. It represents where we're going. The South Node, which is the opposite of the North Node, represents where we've come from. So, in order for us to get so uncomfortable with the South Node, so uncomfortable with where we've come from, we have to be broken down. We got to get hot in the kitchen. It's got to get too uncomfortable for us to stay the same, so that we are willing to move into the unknown and what's might be scary, just because it's too uncomfortable to be where we were. So you'll have to take a look at a time in your life, and maybe it's right now, maybe it's you watching right now, this time when you are breaking down and becoming another person and feeling called to something you can't explain, you don't know why, but that's what you want to be doing. I call it the chaos and change. It is like the Tower card in tarot. You cannot change without chaos. Simply what the body goes through, the hemming, the hawing, the questions, that is chaos. And sometimes it takes place in bigger forms. Me personally, um, my North Node activation happened right about the time it usually does happen when I turned 36 years old. I had just lost a lot of weight, maybe about 125 pounds after having been obese for most of my life. Um, I was kind of at I would say, the pinnacle of my career. I had gone to school, a really expensive school, to study a digital media, and digital editing. And I had gotten out of that school and I had started a freelance company. I even had contract staff doing videography and basically using that freaking degree. Okay. And that it was success, right? Like, we are taught that, wow, if you actually went into business even by yourself, doing a business that you went to school for, like you learned, like, that's putting your degree to good use, that's making your student loans necessary, like, I considered myself a success. So it made no sense to me why I was suddenly being called in another direction. Having lost a lot of weight, I was very energetically sensitive to everything. It made it really challenging for me to do the type of work that I was doing, videography, working with people all day, sometimes um, 12-hour productions, periods of being on your feet, or just in general, just like what I wanted to do was meditate all day. It's just kind of like download all of the information that was coming to me. And so, yeah, it made no sense. And of course, I thought I was going crazy. And so I started seeing a therapist. And that therapist happened to be an astrologer and had been an astrocartographer for, goodness, 30 years, and had been a therapist for a very long time, too. That was the North Node activation. That was fate. Because when I came in there, all distraught, not knowing what I wanted to do, who I was anymore, physically and mentally, my therapist brought out my astrology chart and started explaining to me what was happening. And I became obsessed with astrology. Not just obsessed with astrology for myself, but I thought this helped me so much. I need to be able to help people find clarity when they are struggling, when they don't know what's going on. It's so easy. All we have to do is look to the stars, and it helps us understand. It gives it meaning. It helps us understand why we're going through what we're going through. So, I am, I have my moon in Cancer in my 10th house, okay? And that's a Capricorn house. And for you astrology heads, that means I am somebody who needs to make money doing what gives me meaning, okay? Um, and that's always been the case with me. I have always needed to feel very passionate about what I'm doing, and it also needs to be to help people, right? So my North Node, to give you an idea of what it is that I'm called to do, and then I'll talk about how you can make money doing that. My North Node is in the sign of Scorpio. which means my South Node is in Taurus. A South Node in Taurus, Taurus represents money, stability, security. And so South Node means you know how to make money. You know how to have money show up for you. Okay. You know how to go to a job and get a steady paycheck. You know how to build stability and security for yourself. And that is usually what you're familiar with. Is where you come from. It is absolutely where I came from. Having had a family that was like, a job is number one most important thing. You pay for your own school, you do your own thing, right? And you'd be able to support yourself and be self-sufficient. um, However, my South Node is in the eighth house. The eighth house is a lot of psychological trauma. So it's a lot of, yes, self sufficiency, but being very codependent towards things that are not necessarily healthy and even quite toxic, and even being codependent on people that are not healthy or toxic, in order to feel your own self worth. That's not good. So for most of my life, I was basically trying so hard to be good enough, to be seen as good enough, to work harder and be more stable, just to show that, like, I'm good enough to be here, right? And when I turned 36 and that North Node got activated, and all of a sudden I went from Taurus to Scorpio. Scorpio wants the truth. Scorpio wants passion. It wants intimacy. It wants surprise. It wants it's a detective, it's a therapist, it's a psychoanalyst, like Scorpio. My Scorpio North Node wanted to purge everything that was no longer serving me. It wanted to get down. I mean, that's literally probably why I lost weight. Like, it wanted to get down to the essence of who I am, to recognize that it is when you have the least that you are the most valuable, because you don't need these outside comforts and somebody's paycheck coming every 2 weeks, to know that you can make money all your own. That you can make your worth, that you are worthy, and you can attract your worth to you all by yourself. My North Node is in the second house of wealth and finances, the house of Taurus. And so it is literally through me understanding my own value and my own self-worth that I make money, right? Now, I also have Uranus. Uranus is that, freedom fighter. It's also that future thinker. It's very prophetic. Uranus also represents astrology. In astrology, I have Uranus conjunct my North Node in Scorpio in the second house of wealth and finances and self esteem and a lot of other things. So once I hit that North Node activation, I immediately wanted my soul calling to make me money, because me making money for myself is actually what gives me the most fulfillment, self-sufficiency. And I've even said this before to people, like, I love paying bills. People are like, "What?" But there's something so beautiful and genuine about, I did this for me. I did this myself. And yes, I would love gifts. I get gifts all the time. People give me gifts. I'm a Leo. Give me gifts. Okay. I love that stuff. But there's this deep satisfaction that comes from, I made this money myself. I put in this work and it came back to me. And also that if I need it, I know how to make it. I'm not dependent on anyone else. And so anything that anyone gives me is really a gift, and I'm grateful for it. Also, more grateful for it because I know I could give it to myself. So it's an even better gift because it came from the heart, didn't come from necessity, right? So, um, that is, I can do another thing to talk about how I actually built my business as an astrologer, but that's the origins of it. And I actually have a North Node Masterclass coming up. It's happening on March 5th. And I have a lot of people ask me all the time, like, how do you turn your soul calling into a livelihood that feeds your soul as well as your wallet? Well, this is how. I work with clients all the time, and I have helped them do that, do just that, turn their soul calling into their livelihood. I decided to finally just do a class for people so that they can actually afford this information, because my private clients sessions are they can be up there sometimes. So I wanted to do a class so I could serve more people. and at a lower rate than they would be doing all of my readings and all that stuff. So the class is called Where is Life Taking You Next? It is an 8-week deep dive into your astrological North Node. You'll be able to see your soul calling as well as read the charts of other people and people you know, friends, lovers, family members, be able to help them with their soul calling. It's an absolute great thing to have in your business to be able to utilize astrology to help your clients in multiple ways. And so this is starting March 5th. If you are interested, and I know you are, go down to that description box, sign up for the class. There are installment plans available, and I'm really excited to work with you. I'm really excited to share this information with you and to share more of my story. And I hope you'll share your story with me in the class. All right, everybody. Like I said, I got to go meditate because that is part of my self-care. I hope you're well. And until the next video, take care.